Ladies and gentlemen, Facebook Live again on this Thursday. Rick Berube here. We are very fortunate from Palm Desert, California, to have with us today Julie Jefferson. Welcome to the show, Julie. How are you doing?
Thank you.
I always have to wait for the studio audience, to clap and go ballistic before I keep talking. Thank you. See, they just love me. All right, how are you doing, Julie?
I'm doing well today. Thanks, Rick. How are you?
Good. Are you at your lovely office or is that your home office?
No, this is my Berkshire office on El Paseo.
El Paseo, that's like the Rodeo Drive of the desert, isn't it?
It is. It is.
I love that location. I've only been there like 3 times now. That is a dynamite location. Do you guys get people that walk in there too, or?
We do.
I thought so.
We post all of our ads on the front window, and we have passersby come in from time to time. I mean, it's not often, but it has happened. Or there's a few restaurants around. If they have a little too much wine and decide they don't want to be here anymore, they want to upgrade, downsize, they pop in and we get a listing.
Stagger in the house.
That's a great location.
It's the best location. I remember I went there and did a training. The last time I was there was probably like a year and a half ago. And just during the break, I just walked down the street and walked back. It was beautiful. But anyway, Julie, let's get into this. Let's get into you today. Let's talk about you. And I want to know, tell us a little about yourself and how long you've been doing this and all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, I am Canadian by birth. I grew up in Vancouver, British Columbia, beautiful Vancouver. Was fortunate enough to learn to ski and enjoy the outdoors there, hiking, everything. Relocated to Seattle, so not terribly far, just a 2-hour drive to go home pretty much once a month. And I got my roots there. So I've been in business now. This is my 10th year of business. I moved to California 7 years ago. That
is awesome. So, and you've been involved in a pretty crazy market because Seattle is a pretty crazy market.
Yeah. My first sale in Seattle, I tripled actually what the average was for a brand new agent.
Wow.
So it was a neighbor's house. First neighbors that I met when we'd moved into the house. And when they decided to sell, I listed it, and the average in our office was $289, and I sold it. I brought it on at $899. Ended up selling at $934 at an all-cash offer. Could have gone to $975, but we said no escalation, just quick close, all cash, keep it simple. And so the 2 deals, they weighed it out and said, this is the one.
That's what, and I'm thinking about as far as being at a pretty beautiful place of the planet. I mean, selling in Seattle, driving across the border into Vancouver, which is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. I've been there twice now because I skied at Whistler, and it sounds like, well, let's put it this way. If you skied at Whistler and you learned to ski there, then you are definitely spoiled for all the other locations, right?
Pretty much. It's hard. It's hard to ski elsewhere. Yeah. Very, very lucky. I'm just blessed, and I'm really fortunate that it's a great place to grow up. So
now, do you have a lot of people, like I know, because a lot of people come from Canada into the desert, don't they? So do you have a connection for
being? Do. So that's kind of my niche. That's what I'm focusing on, is reaching back to Canadians. I have referral agents in Canada who also have places here, but they will refer clients to me. In fact, all of last year was purely referrals.
Great. And now I have to tell you my corny Canadian joke. Okay. So how did they come up?
Go for it.
How did they come up with the name? I'm going to tell you right away. Dad joke alert. Dad joke alert. How did they come up with the name Canada? Okay. Back when they first met, you remember? Okay. So they put all the letters in a hat and they just started pulling them out at a time. So the first one was C-A-N-A. Canada. They just kept going. Yeah. I didn't say it was good. I gave a warning, right, Paul?
Oh boy, yeah, you did. You definitely did. Well, my family's British, and if we said the word "a," we actually got a spanking. So we never said it in our house.
Isn't that it's almost like? Yeah. See, now I'll tell you quick about me. My whole family comes from the south of France through Quebec into New Hampshire. So, I mean, I did that DNA testing. I'm like 100% both sides of my mother's father's all ancestors come from the south of France. So, but it's really weird. It's almost like from Toronto west, Canada's totally different than from Toronto east, right? Because you guys are like mostly English,
It
very,
is.
very, very British. And on the other side, it's like being in France, right? Montreal, Quebec.
Francophones, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's why they trying to separate, right? Montreal, didn't they try to do that for years?
They still are. They
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 still-
they do that from time to time. They want to separate, and we say, yeah, have at it, because you're between, PEI, New Brunswick, etc. You're going to come back. You're going to run out of money, and you'll come back. So yeah, fill your boots, go.
Oh, that's awesome. I love Canada. I think it's a great country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And real estate's done a little different there than it is here.
Very different, and that's why I love working with Canadians, because I can speak to them in the language that they understand. For instance, we don't. There is no secondary mortgage in Canada. What they do is, if you go to the Royal Bank, say it's the largest bank in Canada, financial institution, you would hold your mortgage with the Royal Bank for 5 years. In 5 years, you go back and renew it. And so you want to put a substantial amount of money down, because you want to be equitable when you go back to do your refi. There's no
Right.
30 years up there. The bank then records it with the capital of that province, and a lien is held until such time as you pay it out or sell it.
Right. 5 year notes, but they amortize it over what? Is it 20 or 25 years?
25.
25. So that's not bad. So the payment's
Yeah.
a little steeper, and the interest rates are comparable to here now, right?
Yeah, but actually, Canada, it's really interesting. Had an article a couple of years ago, and I haven't looked at it recently, but it has grown 200% more than either Los Angeles or New York in price point.
Wow. Love
Yeah,
it. Cool. I love it. I
it's
used to
insane.
the first time I ever went to, well, other than Montreal, because we used to sneak out there because when we were younger, it was only a 3.5 hour drive from where I
Well,
was.
and you can drink at 18 in Montreal, in
I was just going
Quebec.
to say, I wasn't going to bring that up, but since you did, it's exactly why we used to drive across.
Alberta and Quebec are 18, the rest of Canada is 19. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I remember that when I was a kid. We go, and they didn't like us very much because we would just go in there, just to party, and they'd be like, "You rent a hotel," and then they figure out by the time you got there who they rented to. They're like, "Oh my God, don't ever come back here again."
Keep changing hotels.
Right, exactly. All right, so let's get it. Okay, so I hear all kinds of good things are going on for you. Like you're
We are.
starting a team, you've got all this business going on. So tell us a little about what's going on with you.
Yeah, well, I joined Berkshire Hathaway June of 2020, so right at the start of the pandemic lockdown. Um, I had a lot of referral business. Actually, 100%. When I look back at my numbers for last year, it was 100% referral. So that's where, they always emphasize treat your sphere as a living, breathing thing. It's really, really true. It does. Um, I ended up this year taking the vision of I'm not going to work as a standalone agent anymore. And since then, there's been a number of conferences. The Tom Ferry Success Summit last week was emphasizing this. Teams are the way of the future. Going as a standalone agent in 3 to 5 years is going to be really challenging. So I started to build my team. I have Colin Goldstein currently on my team. I have an interview on Friday with another member. And on Saturday, I'm finalizing with a third member. I have a fellow who is working through his exams currently, and he will be joining in the new year. And
Nice.
that will enhance it even greater because we'll have a fluently Spanish-speaking person on the team.
That's
So
that's a smart idea.
that's okay. I'm looking at software for lead gen. I'm investing back into the business, and I intend to grow this so that when we hit 2022, we're ready and we're going to hit it hard.
Wow. Well, let me just say this, Julie. I hear the energy, excitement, and enthusiasm in your voice. It sounds like you are all jazzed out about doing this, and I love that. It's great. And by the way, I know Tom very well. I used to work with him when he was president of MFO. I always jokingly say I worked for Mike Ferry before Tom did. Tom's a great guy. I love Tom. He lives in Texas now, too. He moved to Texas. It's pretty crazy.
God forbid. Yes, he does.
And now, didn't you yourself, Ryan? There's a bunch of you that went to that event, right?
Actually, Ryan went. I couldn't because last week we were wrapping up a closing. This is a house that I actually have worked with this client 3 times. I sold her duplex in West Hollywood, and then she did a 1031 exchange, bought here in the desert, and it was my previous partner and I had it listed, so it was double-ended. And then I'm really pleased my new buyer's agent double-ended it again for me. He brought the buyer, and we closed on the 19th at $1 million.
That is so awesome. You guys are rocking it.
His very first deal.
That's awesome. That's so great. All right, so you got so it sounds like you work with both sellers and buyers, right? You
Do
take All right. So what would you say your breakdown is listings to buyers this year?
uh, it's about split 50-50 because it's really hard to get the listings. I have
Mm,
3 more coming on before the end of the year. They're not at that price point. One is slightly under, and 2 are significantly under that.
yeah.
But people are recognizing they want to make moves, and actually they're leaving the state in all 3 cases. So
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's the thing, and you've got a decent, California's going through something unique right now, which I think is going to be really good for the market. Ever since I've been in the business 36 years now, I've been coaching for about 25 of them, and I've never seen where California has as many people moving out as moving in right now for the first time like ever. It's pretty crazy. But I think from a real estate standpoint, that's probably a really good thing. Would you agree?
I would. And the interesting thing, getting back to um, real estate in California, it's going through another phase. I remember in 2004, 5, 6, when things were starting to shift before the big correction that happened in the US. I was working, one of my last jobs in Canada was managing a REIT for a private equity firm. And I had several staff working underneath me. And these were loans that we did, seconds and thirds, bridges for principally US borrowers. And we were
Mm,
in 4 states. We were in Texas, California, Arizona, Nevada. And we pulled out of Texas and California first, and Nevada
yep.
last. And condo conversions and strip mall upgrades and things like that. And it was really interesting because it gave me an insight. And when I moved to the U.S., decided to get my license and apply my knowledge. Having worked for 2 of the big 4 accounting firms, I worked for Ernst and Young and Pricewaterhouse pre-merger
Wow.
twice for them, and a paraprofessional position. So trying to say, what do I want to do? I don't want to learn securities law when I move to the States, the U.S. securities law. Um, Take a change and apply my knowledge in finance and business admin and do something different and apply my people skills, which I love meeting people. And the Canadian contingent coming in here each season has just played well to my business because they gravitate to me. In fact, I'll
Mm,
tell you a funny story. One fellow, he's one of the top Remax agents in Western Canada. He came into one of my opens, and he was unshaven and wearing, flip flops, and just looked at me. Hi, I'm Dave. I said, hi, Dave. What brings you out? Chit chat. I toured him through the house, and I thought, geez, he looks familiar. And I asked him, and he said, you don't look familiar. And I said, but you're from Canada, because he had said something, pronounced it a certain way that we do. And he said, I am. And he started with, where are you from? And I said, Vancouver. And he said, me too. And you always start big and then you drill it down. Well, at the end of the day, he's the local realtor where my mom lives in Langley, BC, which is an hour east of downtown Vancouver. And
mm.
I knew him because I'd seen his picture plastered all over the bus shelters up and down the street.
Wow. Small
Never done
world.
business with him. But he laughed. He said, oh, I'm glad to know that all that money is going to waste. I said, no, that's how I knew you.
Yeah, I always want to ask them when they have their faces on bus benches and bus those little huts that they sit in. I always wonder,
Yeah.
how many people that ride the bus, sell their home through you or buy a home through you.
Well,
uh,
and that's the thing. I don't know if it works up there, but
yeah,
I recognized him from that. And
yeah.
anyway, he laughed. He said, "Well, I'd rather work with a Canadian." And then that's
You
the odd thing is they don't know me, but the fact that I'm from home brings them and bonds them to me, and they prefer than
definitely.
working with a stranger from the U.S. And there's no reason for that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it works in my favor.
but it works. Yeah, exactly. You don't, it's
See?
kind of like you getting that Spanish speaking person. Anybody that speaks the same language, they automatically trust you because you can communicate, right?
You
So
can
you're
communicate. You can
yeah, you're
describe the process because
right.
we don't have escrow or title in Canada. Um, HOA is a foreign word to them. It's called
Mhm.
strata in Canada. All of this, I can break it down, and so they understand it. It's not
Yeah.
so overwhelming.
No, it's great. Yeah, that's a great niche too. I mean, I think it's awesome. So, no, listen, now that I know more of your background by speaking to you, I have to ask you this question because I always ask
Oh,
people that have been in business. So, you were in other businesses before. You were
yes.
involved in finance, and you were so when you look now, put your let's say you go back 10, 12 years. You're looking at real estate, and you say to yourself, from a business standpoint, this makes all kinds of sense to go into real estate, right? So tell us why. When you looked at it, what made a lot of sense to you to get into?
Well, I worked for 25 years on and off for lawyers, and it was in securities law, as I mentioned. That's why
Mhm.
coming to the States, I didn't want to relearn it. Um, they're very demanding. I mean, lawyers in general are very demanding, but securities is more so because there are some hard deadlines that you cannot miss.
Right.
And you're under pressure a great deal. So from time to time, I would take a step away from the business and I'd work for a C-level executive. Um, two of the positions, one being that REIT that I managed, that was a really enjoyable small boutique firm, which has since grown. I set up their Toronto office, and they now have an office in Dallas, a U.S. sub. So they've now grown to quite a size. The other company that I worked for was an intermediate gold producer, and I worked for the CEO, and that was a little more 9 to 5 with exceptions, at meeting times, etc., quarterlies. But I would then accompany him and his team, and I had an opportunity to travel, which was really exciting because you don't get to do that when you work for lawyers. They get all the fun perks and things, and you end up just grinding away at your desk. So
Right.
I've been to Santiago twice. I visited the Atacama Desert, which is the most arid desert in the whole world, not the Sahara, but this one. I visited the heap leach mine pit at 14,000 plus feet. I've been to the village of Copiapó, where years ago those placer dome miners were supposedly stuck. And in fact, that was incorrect. That's the town that's 4 hours closest to where they were stuck. So I
Right.
always knew that when they would say, "We're in Copiapó." No, you're not.
I saw that movie, by the way. That movie was incredible.
Yeah. So I've been to there, and it's just the most beautiful, beautiful country. The seafood is amazing. The people are amazing. The wines are amazing. I mean, I still have a girlfriend there who keeps saying, "When are you coming back for a visit?" It's like, I will. I plan to. And with the alternate seasons, it's kind of nice to go down there. You get summer and the winter.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's pretty. You get below that equator, everything's backwards because it's upside down.
Backwards, everything. But it's just really exciting, and it was a really good introduction to business itself and bringing all the different facets in. It just made sense to go into real estate.
Yeah. Yeah, too, and even at an early age, I got into it when I was, I got my license at 19. Really, my first full year, I was 20. It made sense to me because it's one of the easiest businesses to get into, right? I always joke and say, you can get your license in 2 weeks. You really can, right? Get your license. Now you have a license to sell. You can make the same money as doctors, lawyers, accountants. Nowhere near the education, nowhere near the liability, and definitely nowhere near the overhead. So to me, no carrying cost. To me, all those things I put together, I'm like, this is the biggest upside business. I mean, other than the fact that I love people, I love houses, I like making people smile, help them with their dreams. It's the American dream, all of that stuff. But then you look at the numbers and you go, this is a home run business, right?
It's wonderful, and the flexibility it offers. You don't have that as an employee in any other position. And
Right.
especially when you're the right hand to someone at a senior level, you're stuck by their side night and day as far as meetings and everything. And even though it was great to get down to Chile, I was still working the whole time. I mean,
Mm,
I came home, and then you have catch up to do with your day job. So this way, you set your own boundaries, you set your own schedule, you have what is available to you. And that's why when I transitioned over to Berkshire Hathaway, it was a no brainer. I sat down with At the time, it was Vicki Dawson and Deb Stein, and we just ran through the tools that they offered, and I thought, why wasn't I not here before? And unfortunately, the pandemic slammed me at the time, but I still, persevered. I had a home office fully set up,
Yep.
and still is, and I can function from either here or there. Just having a team member, it makes more sense to be here. We have a 10
Oh, yeah.
o'clock Monday morning team meeting, and the out of area person phones in, and we hit with, here's their drill down for the week. This is what we expect to accomplish or need to accomplish. And on Friday, we just kind of circle back on a more casual level and say, this is what we didn't do, where we fell short, or, hey, we did it. In this case with Colin, getting him closed on this listing was a priority this week, and having that behind us is nice.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, great stuff. I love it. Now, as far as is Canada still tight as a drum as far as going back and forth with the COVID
no,
thing?
They announced a week ago, or thereabouts, that they were reopening in early November, and I believe the date's the 7th or 8th. They have opened for fully vaxxed Canadians can now return. So last year we saw about 30% of the Canadians that normally are here travel down. This year we should expect to see a lot more. That very morning, the next day, I booked my flight home for Christmas, and half the plane was gone, because up until now, to get home, which I did do in August, and it was a journey, is here to San Fran or Seattle, do a layover, and then puddle jump up. It's not a direct flight, and now WestJet has started their direct flights again.
Oh, good. Good for you.
So we should be seeing more people, many more people this year.
Yeah, the traffic should for your Canadian clients, that'd be great for you. Awesome. And for them also. Well, okay, so we're at that point where I have to ask you my favorite question, which is, to go from, well, actually, let's just put it this way. If you were to do this all over again, or if you're a newer agent or an agent trying to get to the next level, what would be the three most important things you would tell them to focus on?
I gave thought to that, and the very first thing that jumps at me, and Mark touched on it yesterday in our meeting, our presentation with him, be consistent. Just do it over and over and over, and eventually it will stick. And you can be frustrated, think this isn't work. It will work. You just have to stay the course. And so many people quit when they're just on the precipice of success. And it's challenging, but you just have to put your hard hat on and just go forward. And the second thing is, to that point, let it go. So if you do have a really bad day, people are hanging up on you, people are abusive. We don't always have the nicest buyers or sellers. They can have their moments. It's very stressful, buying or selling a property. And they can take it out on you, because, you always hurt the ones you love. And we're the closest thing at the time, and we're the one to be blamed. But just let it go. Shrug it off. Start tomorrow. Fresh attitude, fresh piece of paper, and let's go. Let's do this again. Let's hit it hard. And I find just your mindset of being, I'm going to be positive, and I'm not going to let it get me down under. I'm going to succeed. Awesome. Really helps. Really, really helps.
That is awesome. I love it. All right, cool. All right, anything else you want to tell these wonderful people, Julie?
Nothing. It's just been a pleasure to be selected to sit one-to-one with you like this. I've enjoyed watching other interviews that you've done, and I was quite keen to get this opportunity.
Well, I have to say that your manager, you came highly recommended by Ryan, which is great.
There we go. Ryan is another one on my fan team. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Ryan great. He's wonderful.
Yeah, great guy. And you know what? I would just say this, that it looks like everything. Here's what I know by talking to you. Some people have it. I can't always define it or describe it, but I know when I'm talking to somebody who has it. You have it. Energy, enthusiasm, drive. I can hear the assumptive commitment in your voice, like you're going to make this team work. It's going to happen. I feel it when you're talking, Julie. I can feel it. Can you feel it, Paul? Paul can feel it.
That's how I start my day. I get up in the morning. I work out very first thing in the morning every day, 7 days a week.
Yep.
And then plan my day.
Oh, Paul. I think that was one horn too many, but that's just me. That's just the way I am. No, I'm the same way, Julie, and I can hear the energy and enthusiasm. It's a joy being with you today. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. All right, look, hope to talk to you soon. Thank you. Sorry about my crazy Canadian joke.
Bye.